So we've been using social stories for a long time, and Carol Gray was the person that came up with that term and gave lots of good ideas of how to write a social story. But what I've noticed now is people are talking about visual stories. It's fantastic that lots of museums are creating either a film or a story that you can read about what will be at the museum and what the canteen looks like and where you can go where there's a quiet space. And that's all the fantastic stuff to help people be ready to be in that environment and give them suggestions or, ways of thinking beforehand about what they can bring along to help regulate themselves. So it's a really, really useful tool. I've just been to a course last week on what's called social competence. Initially, I didn't really like the term because it sounds as if there's levels of competence, but apparently it comes from education and it is something that's in the national curriculum in Australia. And so that's why that term's sort of being used at the moment. I'm sure there'll be other terms in the future, but I think the concept of being, I'd prefer to say, socially comfortable, perhaps, in your environment. And one of the ways to when you're preparing a social story, if there isn't one already, or if you're talking to somebody about a visual story that you're looking at, there's two things, I suppose, that I sort of think are important from this course. One is to think of it as a task analysis. So it's a step-by-step, what are you going to be doing in the environment, or what does the person need to be doing in their environment step by step? And then you can look at, okay, so what are the supports that person needs? So will they need to have a drink? Will they need to take a backpack that has some sensory tools in it? Will they need to, if they get overwhelmed, where will they need to go in the space? So so it's those sorts of things. I hope that thinking about it as a task analysis and then inputting all the tools the person needs in that step-by-step plan then helps them to be prepared for whatever new community environment or activity they're going to do. And using pictures, you might develop the story with them. That's certainly one parent that I know, that's what she does. They're so good now at using Google Images to download stuff. The other thing is that you can very easily find existing stories. Like I said, the museums have some fantastic ones, but also so for church, for instance, which I've done with one family, you can Google social story autism Holy Communion, and you will get quite a few social stories or visual stories that you can get ideas from. But yeah, and I often make them with Google Images, or you can do drawing, whatever works for the person that you are supporting and hoping to access new environments. Hope that helps.